From the moment Oliver Grant stepped into the warm, softly lit restaurant on a rainy Friday night in Seattle, something in his chest felt strangely hollow, as if the world had paused just long enough for him to feel how alone he truly was. He was a powerful CEO, admired by thousands, feared by competitors, and respected by every board member who ever sat across from him. Yet that night, staring at the untouched glass of water and the meticulously set table meant for two, all the wealth and authority in the world felt painfully useless. His blind date was already 40 minutes late, and the quiet disappointment settling across his features created the perfect contrast with the storm raging outside. He had no idea that the person who was about to walk into the restaurant drenched, trembling, and unaware of what fate had prepared, would rewrite every rule of his carefully controlled life. If you believe in kindness, destiny, and unexpected second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel to keep supporting stories like this. The rain hammered against the tall windows in steady rhythm as Oliver checked his watch again. The maitre d' had approached twice, politely offering to call the person he was waiting for, but Oliver waved him off each time, insisting he would give it a few more minutes. In truth, the date mattered far less than what it represented. An attempt to escape the cold, isolated world Head built for himself after years of ruthless ambition. He didn't admit it aloud, but loneliness had become a quiet ache in his success-filled life. At that exact same moment, a young woman named Harper Collins was shivering outside the same restaurant, clutching a worn-out backpack with one broken strap, and trying desperately to shield herself from the downpour. She wasn't dressed for fine dining, far from it. Her faded jeans were soaked, her beige coat sagged with water, and her hair stuck messily to her face. She had been walking home from a part-time cleaning shift, her last bus long gone, her shoes squishing miserably with each step. When lightning cracked across the sky, she panicked and ducked into the first building she saw, unaware it was a luxury restaurant she normally could never afford to even glance into. Inside, the warmth hit her like a wave, and her fogged-up glasses made everything blurry. Before she could orient herself, the hostess called out a name, not hers, but Harper, dazed and desperate for a place to sit. Thought they were speaking to her. She nodded automatically, walked toward the table the staff gestured to, and sat down without noticing the shock on Oliver's face as he realized this clearly wasn't the woman he was supposed to meet. Harper pushed her dripping hair behind her ears, staring at the fancy silverware like it belonged in a museum. She didn't know where to put her hands. She didn't know whether she was supposed to speak. All she knew was that she was exhausted, freezing, and too embarrassed to stand up again. She opened her mouth to apologize, but before she could form a sentence, Oliver saw the fear in her eyes, raw, honest, unfiltered, and something inside him softened in a way he couldn't explain. What started as a misunderstanding slowly shifted into a peculiar moment neither of them could walk away from. Harper tried to explain she had no reservation, no intention of intruding, and no ability to pay for any expensive meal. Oliver listened, and for the first time in years, he wasn't thinking like a CEO. He was thinking like a human being. Something about her vulnerability touched him deeply, reminding him of the version of himself before success hardened his edges. He insisted she stay long enough to warm up, and when she hesitated, he reassured her with such gentle sincerity that she finally allowed herself to breathe. The meal he ordered wasn't extravagant. It was simple and comforting, exactly what he sensed she needed. And as they ate, Harper spoke in long, hesitant paragraphs about her life, juggling 2 jobs, caring for her younger brother, trying to finish community college courses she could barely afford. She didn't complain. She didn't ask for pity. She simply told her truth. Oliver, who spent years surrounded by polished voices trained to impress, found himself unexpectedly captivated by her authenticity. Something shifted again when Harper laughed for the first time that night. It was soft but bright, like a light flickering on in a dark room. Oliver felt it echo in his chest. He realized he wanted to hear that sound again, and again, and again. When the staff cleared the plates, and the storm outside finally softened to a drizzle, Harper stood up to leave, thanking him repeatedly and insisting she didn't want him to think she was taking advantage of his kindness. But Oliver wasn't thinking about kindness anymore. He was thinking about fate, how it sometimes used the most unlikely circumstances to realign lives that were never meant to remain separate. He asked her to stay a little longer, just a moment more, and though she felt unworthy of such attention, something in his steady expression convinced her that this wasn't pity. This was connection, real, unexpected, unnerving connection. She sat back down. Over the weeks that followed, Oliver kept finding reasons to see her again. Sometimes he'd drop by the community center where she studied, bringing her warm tea when she was too tired to focus. Other times Harper would bring him a cheap homemade sandwich on his busiest days, leaving it with the receptionist because she was too shy to step into his world. Slowly, their completely different lives began weaving together, not by force, but by the simple gravity of two lonely souls discovering warmth in each other's presence. Of course, not everything was easy, people whispered. Some of Oliver's colleagues openly criticized his involvement with someone from such a modest background. Harper overheard things that stung, things that made her question her worth, but each time she drifted away in fear, Oliver pulled her gently back with unwavering patience. He wasn't protecting her out of obligation. He was protecting the future he finally saw clearly for the first time in years. The turning point came on a quiet evening when Harper received a call that her younger brother had fallen ill, and she had no money for proper treatment. She tried to hide it from Oliver, not wanting to burden him, but he noticed the tremor in her voice, the way her eyes avoided his. When he gently pressed, she broke down, not dramatically, just silently, painfully. Oliver helped immediately, but he didn't throw money at the problem. He stayed by her side, met her brother, supported her through every exhausting step, and proved that his feelings weren't rooted in a single night of sympathy, but in something far deeper. Their bond deepened into love that was quiet, steady, and anchored in mutual respect. Harper learned she wasn't defined by her hardships, and Oliver learned that vulnerability didn't weaken him, it grounded him. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of what truly matters. Before we end, comment below whether you believe their meeting was destiny or coincidence. In time, Harper finished her studies, her brother recovered, and Oliver learned to balance his life with meaning instead of endless ambition. Their success wasn't measured by wealth or status, but by the gentle, everyday choices they made to lift each other higher. The night they first met, the night when a blind date was empty and a poor girl sat down by mistake, became the story they told each other whenever life felt overwhelming. Because that night taught them something extraordinary. Sometimes the best things in life don't arrive when you expect them. They walk in soaking wet, trembling, scared, and carrying a broken backpack, yet they change everything. And Oliver never let her go, ever.